Y nos vamos para Centroamérica. Welcome back to Central American Voices podcast. Today we are with Guatemalan-Honduran-American filmmaker Santos Arrué. Welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome to Central American Voices podcast. Today we are at Bird Punch Studios. It looks so pretty.
It's awesome. I mean, I walked in here. I was like, wow.
know.
I feel so special.
I was like, this is nice.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm extremely excited to be here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
So first, we always start with one question. To start going back, so you were born here in LA to Guatemalan and Honduran parents.
Mm-hmm.
How was it for you growing up, and how did that shape like your voice as a filmmaker?
I think growing up in LA, I'm sure like the misconception is that like everyone here is like Mexican American, and I think the hard part for me was I was just like, I'm not Mexican American, but I know I'm Latina.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, how do I fit into this like larger landscape of Latinidad, you know? And I think a lot of the time, sometimes I felt a little bit out of place. Like, am I too American? Am I not? I'm not, obviously not Mexican, but, you know, it was just kind of trying to figure out who I was and what identity meant for me. But yeah, I think LA is just also such a like beautiful cultural melting pot of like other immigrants from you meet so many other immigrant families, you know, from like Persian families to like I remember my friends were my parents were friends with a lot of like Armenian, like we had a lot of Armenian neighbors because we lived in Glendale in the valley. So it was always like a transference of different cultures and languages, which was really cool.
I think that's the beauty of LA.
Yeah.
I always tell like when I moved here as an Honduran,
Yeah.
you know, I met so many Mexicans. I tried my first taco. I always tell them, I tried my first taco here in LA.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you start being like, what is this like disconnect? Why we feel like there's this disconnect, or like a lot of people like rivalidad, right? But there's not right there.
Yeah.
But it's like at the end of the day we're Latinos.
Yeah.
But we also have like different background, different history, different
Right.
like even slang, different
Yeah.
language things that I think is so beautiful growing up in such a diverse city that allow you to like grow and learn from everyone.
Yeah.
That is now becomes a part of you.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. And then I wanted to talk a little bit of the themes that you explore in your storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So about where am I? Okay. Forgiveness, displacements, and community.
Mm-hmm.
Why are those themes like important for you to explore through film? And did that happen to you like when you were growing up, that you started like does that come from a personal experience, or you just wanted to explore those areas?
It's interesting because I was thinking about this just, you know, because we're applying to applications and grants, and you know how it is. You got to talk about yourself. But it is, I think, there is something to be said about like the first generation like experience. There's some, I talk about how like I always felt like I was born grieving like something, like I don't know what it was. It just, there's this inherent like displacement that you feel because I think, you know, you're Honduran and you're Guatemalan, yes, because your parents are, but also it's a homeland that you don't necessarily know, you know, because of them. You know, it's an inherited thing. And so it's kind of like I'm missing this place that I don't quite know yet, that really isn't my home. Like my home is LA, right? But at the same time, it doesn't feel like this is my like home at the same time, if that makes any sense. But I think like me exploring displacement and like feeling out of place comes from this like feeling of like I'm missing something. There's a home for me waiting, and it's not, maybe it's not like a place, but it is like maybe just like a condition or like a feeling inside of you. So I'm just like interested in exploring what that means like for first gen. And I think displacement, especially like for our parents, you know, that are immigrants, it's like it's a big thing, you know, of like having to go somewhere because, you know, the place that you were born in the country that you were born in is no longer like supporting you in those ways. You can't see a future. You have to hope for something else. And I think, they came to America with that dream and all of those hopes and desires.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting when you talk about like being born and grieving something, because it's like I often talk with Central Americans and immigrants in general, or first gens, that they're so connected to their parents' culture, right? And they're like, oh, I'm so Salvadoran, Honduran, Mexican, like you name it. And then I talk with people and like back home, and they're like, well, like they were born over there, like there's always this question where like you weren't born here, why do you feel so proud?
Yeah.
But I think it's part of that, of the feeling that belonging, but also I also feel like our parents didn't leave because they wanted to, because they were forced to.
Exactly.
So in a sense, there is a grief of leaving. There's a grief through migration, a life that our parents have to give up,
right?
Either because of survival, either because of financial, either because a war or whatever that it was happening in our countries, right? But it's always something that it's a continuous grieving, and I think it comes that it also translates with like to future generations, right? Of like, oh, like, yeah, you were born here, but like, if this wasn't another timeline, like another universe, that could have been your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's also like the recognition that it was funny because I took a trip to Guatemala for the first time 2 years ago. And every time I was talking about it, every time I was talking about the trip, I was like, yeah, I'm going back to Guatemala. And I kept saying going back to. And I thought that was so interesting because it's like, no, it's your first time going, It is this like homecoming of sorts. But I thought it was so interesting that I was like, yeah, I'm going to go back to Guatemala.
But I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like you feeling so attached. And even though like, and I can relate to you in a sense that even though I migrated here, when I was born in Tegucigalpa, and that's where my life was, in La Capital, I always feel connected to my mom's home, like little pueblito.
Yeah.
And I always like that. I tell people that is my happy place, that is my joy.
Yeah.
And I never understood why that I felt so attached to that.
Yeah.
And I could never put it into words. Now, of course, being miles apart, I'm like, I miss my whole country, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel it's a connection that sometimes cannot be explained.
Yeah.
When it comes to like storytelling, what for you was like important to like explore that in a like art form, like in a film?
I think that filmmaking or film in general is such a great place to explore grief. And I think I've realized over time that at least for me, it's so great because it is a format, like an artistic format where you can there's the cut that can happen, like the splice of a cut can make something appear or disappear. And so there's something about presence that filmmaking has to it that I think is also tied to like grief, and how we can explain grief, because at the end of it, it is the absence of something or someone, right? And so there's like this like really cool quality that I think filmmaking can do, where it's like you can talk about missing someone or something in a way that I think maybe I wouldn't be able to express myself through any like painting or like singing. I don't know, there's something about it.
I think also it's beautiful to talk about grief in the film form, because in our communities sometimes it's like, hay que echarle fuerza, ni modo. Pa'lante. You know what I mean? Like you said, like migrating and grieving your previous life and everything that you left behind. A lot of our family left family behind that they never saw again. So it's 100%. Like, ni modo, es parte de la vida.
Yeah.
Life continue. Moving on.
Right. Yeah.
Or someone passed and you're like,
yeah.
You can grieve for a bit, but life continues.
Yeah.
Moving on. Exactly. And I think a lot of times we just put those grief under the rug without actually exploring what does that mean, what does healing looks like, what does community which you touch like in your film
Mhm.
Azul, how does that even look like? And even two different type of grieving that I saw
Mhm.
at your film, reading your film. And yeah, I think that's a great to ask about your film Azul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, such a
Mhm.
beautiful film, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It was made with a lot of awesome people, a lot of hard work, long days. So, shout out to the cast and crew. Yoko, Genevieve, Lou, Jessica, like the main team for sure
Hmm.
because I would not be able to make it without them.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, the low rider, like like community in LA,
Yeah.
like I grew up in Wilmington, so like I see them all the
Okay,
time.
yes, yes. Then you know what's up. Yeah.
Yes, I know all the low riders.
Yes.
So it was pretty cool seeing it in a film, and also to see women representation in that
Mhm.
side, and
Mhm.
how badass that is.
They're so badass. I'm like, these women are so cool. Every time I would hang out with them, I'd be like, I just want to be them. Like, can you guys just like adopt me? Like, I
Yeah.
don't have a car, but
Uh,
yes, adopt
Does
me.
that film comes from personal experience of like like getting to know?
Oh, for
Okay.
sure. Oh, for sure. I think it's like it. It's definitely like first of all, like shout out to the Lady Lowriders because we did this
Mm-hmm.
in collaboration with them, and they are not only just like badass women, but they also are so community oriented. When the fires were happening in
Mm-hmm.
LA, like they were the first ones out there being like, we need to get people water, we need to get people
Wow.
these things. So they're also like they're always doing toy drives, they're always helping out
Mm-hmm.
the community, and I think that's such a beautiful thing to see. A lot of times like there's like lowrider films and like there's just the stereotype of like, oh, son cholas, son cholos, or like
Mm-hmm.
it's gang related, and it's like, I mean, that's not the case. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sure, people have a past life, and that's valid, but the people that I've met have only showed me kindness and tenderness and a willingness to be open to
Yeah.
just having me there.
Yeah, and they're so like welcoming. Like that has.
They so are. They so are. I remember like a couple notes
Mm-hmm.
when I was writing the script, a couple
Mm-hmm.
notes where it's like, you should make them more like this way, or more into a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
And the stereotype being like, oh, they're tough, and then they're
Yeah.
they're trying to make you do this bad thing. And I was just like, no, I don't want to go in that direction because that's not the experience,
Mm-hmm.
that I've had with them. And so
And how was that collaboration like in like? I mean, you talk about you know they're very community based and how welcoming they are. How was that
yeah.
community now translated like to film? How did that collaboration work for you for the film?
Yeah, I think it was only hard because there was a lot of like red tape with AFI because
Mm-hmm.
it's tied to an AFI thesis, so there's a lot of like insurance things that you have to clear, and there's like a lot more bureaucracy involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
But like working with them was awesome. They were so willing and down, like anything we needed. We spent the whole year prior just like going to shows.
Oh
Me and
wow.
my team, like our production designer Jessica, our editor Lou, Yoko, our producer Genevieve, our DP. Like we would really spend weekends like going to different lowrider shows and like seeing like what
Mm-hmm.
how do we basically encapsulate this
Yeah.
feeling. And the ladies were always so willing to just like be helping in any
Mm-hmm.
capacity. We would like text them, we would be like following them, because they're so busy too, like
Yeah.
they're moms and they're like
Mm-hmm.
they have whole lives, but the fact that they were able to make space for us was really really kind.
Yeah. And then I think you're really accomplished because when I saw the scene when like she goes to the car, I was like,
Yeah.
this looks and feels like a car show.
Okay,
Like
good.
this, I was like, this is what
Good.
I was feeling in the car.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, great.
I
Yeah.
was like the voice and like everything that like the
Yeah.
sound, and then when I saw the car, like I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, like
That
it
was
it felt
fun.
like that.
Yeah, that was very fun. Also, shout out to Serena because Serena, so that hopper that you see
Mm-hmm.
up there, she actually is from a car called Six Side in Las Vegas. And Sandy, the president for the Lady Lowriders, she put me in touch with Serena because she had this like amazing. We were looking for a hopper that was at that point we weren't looking for a specific color. We were just like, we want a hopper, but it has to be like a female owned like car. That's really what we want to highlight. And Sandy was like, we know this girl, she's awesome. Her name is Serena, but she's in Vegas. And I was like, well, let's see, let's talk. And Serena was so kind and sweet to be like, I will drive out there. I will drive out there for the shoot. And she did. And then immediately, we shot that scene and then she went back to Vegas. It was
the same day?
Yes, it was wild. It was wild. But I was so appreciative because it's like, it really takes a community to make even a short film, It's just like, if I didn't have that, like, we wouldn't have anything,
Yeah. And I love that because I feel like in part of this story, Azul, something that I told you, there were two types of grief, but also the finding of belonging. And I think the sisterhood, right? That she felt in this film. I don't want to spoil it, but you need to watch it.
Yes, watch it,
please.
No, just kidding. Give me those Vimeo views. No, just kidding.
Go to the film festival.
Yeah, exactly. Tell them you want the feature.
Yes. And I think like, at the beginning I see two persons going through a grief. One that is like, let's pack everything. Let's just, like I told you, let's just close this door already.
Yeah.
And someone that wants, and the other one, someone wants to hold to the memory. And the memory also translates to a feeling of sisterhood, to the feeling like my sister, of feeling seen.
Yeah.
That I think it kind of like leads into like how she finds, the lowrider, the lady lowriders. And yes, grief is still there, but it's this sense of being safe, being seen, that I think is just beautiful portrayed in that sisterhood and what community means when you feel you lost something. Like, it's not just the loss of a family member and everything, but like we were talking about migration, like coming to another country and finding community. So like community is so important for anybody in whatever stage of grief that it is. Yeah. And I think you can see a beautiful display in the film.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. And I think I was like, oh, they're so cute.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah, it's crazy. I made it, I think, at a point in time where I really wanted to talk about grief, in a way that was hopefully uplifting and like was willing to, talk about that how sisterhood can be like, sisterhood community can be the salve for that wound. Ultimately it's not about shutting down and isolating. It's about talking about it. And like, I think in our families, we do shove it and we suppress it. And I think it's best when we share it, because it's like you're sharing the load a bit, but it's so nice to hear, anyone who is like has seen the film, and it always like warms my heart. And I'm like, yeah, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, of like when people come up to you and they're like, I loved your film, I connected with it so much, I lost someone too, and this makes me feel like special and seen. And that's like enough for me. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's enough for me. I need to like hang on to this feeling, because I just want to make people feel more, and connect. Yeah, that's what cinema's about,
Yeah, and I think we create films because of that. You know what I mean? It's like we share with the world, hoping someone connects, right? And someone feels seen, and at least someone like us, like people like us on screen. That a low writer can see and say, hey, you know what I mean? Like, I can do that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like a little girl, we're like, hey, I can be in the car.
100%. Like, I could be like hitting those switches.
Exactly. Yeah. And now you're transitioning from short films to features.
Yeah.
How is that? Like, how is that transition? Congrats, by the way.
Well, thank you. I mean, we're still working on it, but I will take the congrats anyways.
Yeah. Hey, but manifesting. The start is a congrats. Just to start a feature is a congrats. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah. How do you feel like that switch has been for you to, like, coming from like, going to school, I call arts and then FI, and working on short format film, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, not like I'm working on a feature length.
It's been an interesting transition. I will say, just because I think when I started like filmmaking, for me it was much more about like, grabbing a camera and literally documenting like family events. And so just by doing that, I was like already really interested in documentary, and that's where I really got my start. Like, going to CalArts was such an amazing experience, and I always recommend, like, you know what, like, if you can apply to CalArts and if you can go, definitely go, because I think they really fed me with all of this just like awesome ways of thinking about filmmaking, and different ways that you can do it. I think with documentary, then I went into like, how can we blend the two? How can we do documentary and narrative? How can we make this feel more like our lives are represented?
Do you have like a prospect like year when that film will come out?
Oh, my
Yeah,
feature.
yeah.
That's what the question was. I was like, what was the question?
No,
I went off on a tangent.
No,
I'm sorry.
No. You were great.
Yes.
No, it was. The question was not. I was just like the transition between that. But I was just wondering, do you have like a prospect? Like,
the process. Here's the thing too. Is like, I've always thought in features. Like, the short film is like the single, and then the features like the album.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I think it's been a long time coming, but I feel very ready to make the feature, and I'm like, yes, like let's go. I'm sorry, I don't know if we can curse on this show. Okay, great. Okay, great. Go for it. Let's do it. I'm so fucking ready. Let's fucking go. My parents are gonna be like, why? ¿Por qué hablas así? Te vas a lavar la boca con jabón. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, don't worry, guys.
Sorry, I can yap.
No, I love to jab. This is why we're here.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to ask. So the feature's called "How to Stop This Guy from Wanting."
Yeah.
Okay, what inspired the story, and what excites you more about the project?
I think what inspired the story was really like a class at CalArts. It was the class called Cinema of Resistance, and it was very much like, looking at documentaries about resistance movements. I was just like looking at different films, and we had to make a film basically about something that we cared about a movement. And at first, because I come from parents that did a lot of domestic work, that was my focus. But then I kind of stumbled on this group called Teatro Jornaleros Sin Fronteras, which is like this awesome group that would collaborate with theaters in LA to help like immigrants basically do some rehabilitation work through theater. And I thought that was so fascinating and really cool. And then I learned that they did a year in conjunction in Guatemala with actual deportees. So they would enroll them in this theater program where they would be able to talk about their experience in America. And, it would range, but they would ultimately have all the agency of like, they get to tell their own story however they want to do it. And I thought that was so beautiful and powerful, because I think we take for granted like the power of storytelling really is in like not only you having the agency to be like, this is my story and I own it and this is the way that I'm gonna tell it, but also like as a way to imagine like new different outcomes, right? New futures. So I think the film was really inspired by like, how can we imagine something beyond what we're accustomed to seeing, which is like, it is a lot of displacement and grief, but how do we find a way out of it, Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm excited
Yeah.
to see it when it comes out.
Yes.
I'm out here like in theaters soon.
In theaters soon. Exactly. Yeah.
What's it called? It was opening night. Yeah. To be determined.
Exactly.
And like, you embarked on this. Have you had any challenges?
Challenges. There's always going to be challenges. I think, the big challenge is always going to be, how do you make a feature when you're a first-time director? Are people going to take the risk on you? Are people going to, support you in those ways to actually make it? And, the more and more like I dig into making it, the more and more I find that as long as you have enough faith to be like, it's going to get made regardless, that's going to keep the train moving. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's gonna get made one way
It's
or
going to
another.
get made one way or another. Exactly. And I mean, I've been very lucky and fortunate that it's, received a lot of support from Sine Qua Non Labs, and SF Film, which I think is a step in like that direction of like finding other collaborators that are gonna help me make this come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely. Well, congrats, and
Thank
wish you the best
you.
on that
Thank you
journey.
very much. Thank you.
Before we end, I wanted to ask you a couple things. As a Central American filmmaker, we talk a lot about Azul and your feature film. What does storytelling and representation means to you in today's film industry?
For me, it means a lot more than I think just seeing us on screen. I think there was a push for, more representation just in terms of us showing up, literally on screen. But I think like I'm really trying to figure out new modes of representation in different ways that we can tell stories about ourselves, and I think like there's so many different stories about who we are and what we can do that I think I would love to see. I would love to see more Guatemalan films, more films hecho en Honduras, like, because I think that's a part of who we are, and also stories that just need to be told, because they're very different. And I'm honestly like hoping for much more investment in Honduras and in Guatemala. I know in Guatemala there's Fundación Ixcanul.
Yes,
which
shout out
is
Jairo.
yeah, which is awesome. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, yes, please, because I think there's so many, indigenous stories about Garifuna in Honduras, like that I would love to see.
I often think about the filmmaking aspect of Central American, just not just Latino in general, but like Central American.
Yeah.
We have a lot of film. We have had like Voces Inocentes. We
Yes.
have had like other films that, I mean, they're needed, but I also,
Yes.
at least for me, I want to see more films, like you said,
Yeah.
that talk about the experience of our indigenous community, Garifunas, but also about joy.
Yes, 100%, 100%
I was
about
like,
joy.
Can we have a rom-com that happens in un pueblito, please?
Yes. Listen, whoever's
Please.
listening, you got a
Please.
pitch.
I
Hit
have a
her
couple
up.
ideas.
Exactly.
I can live in my life experience.
No, and I completely agree. I think that like there is a lot of trauma and a lot of grief, but I think a part of that representation is, figuring out, like, I'm literally imagining new futures for us,
Yeah.
and you can only do that if you change the way that you think about how we tell our stories, and it's definitely something that I'm taking into the feature. Yes, it is about displacement, and it is about, a man who gets deported back to, his country of origin. But I think that there's a lot that he can learn, and that I can learn actually from, how do we imagine our way? How do we write our way into a better future, into something that gives us hope,
I think that's so beautiful because of exploring also the, the sad and awful experience getting deported, but reimagining and hope for a better future of something that you might have left thinking that it was not a better future. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I hope that makes sense.
No, I completely get what you mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I feel like now in how we are like in this state,
100%.
we owe, like, at least in my family, we always think about it.
Yes.
What if it happens?
Yes.
And how would the life look like?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And I think it's something something beautiful that my mom told me. We were just having this conversation. We're like, if something were to happen, we know where we're gonna get, where we're going.
Yeah.
And that's our country. But how would that look like after being out for so long?
Exactly.
When family has left,
100%.
family have passed, things had been sold,
Yeah. Yeah.
how does that adjustment look like?
Yeah. How do you
And
rebuild?
and how can you also tell yourself like it's gonna be fine?
Mm-hmm.
Let's build a future.
Yeah.
Let's build hope in this country.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very tricky conversation to continue, but like I
Yeah.
feel like I think it's a
100%.
beautiful thing to reimagine that you can like bloom anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like como ¿cómo se llama? ¿Has visto esa cosa que dice como like like a rose growing from
See, from the concrete. Yeah.
Yes.
Rose that grew from the concrete. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I think about my parents too. A lot of the times, like if had they been deported, what would have happened? Who knows? Maybe they would have. I think a lot of the times we think of like America as like this great place, and although it is, and it has been, I think like maybe it's time to think about like other things that can give us that joy and that sense of like, because we have so much joy in our community and in our families, and it's
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, do you have any films or filmmaker that have influenced your work?
Oh, that's a hard one. Yes, so many. When I was 5, probably Baz Luhrmann. I know that's kind of a crazy that's a crazy statement. No, but I love that. I was obsessed with Romeo and Juliet, Moulin Rouge. Tarsim Singh has the movie The Fall, which is I'm realizing more and more as I write the feature. I was like, oh, actually, this film is so great because it is about this guy who's telling a story to this girl, and she's like, no, I don't want that ending. And I think that's so beautiful that you can choose to have a different ending, Lucrecia Martel, love her. Apija Pong, amazing filmmaker. Yeah.
Do you have any like films currently that you're like, I would recommend to you this film?
Oh my gosh.
What was the last film that you watched?
Okay, the last film that I watched was Afternoons of Solitude.
Okay. Where
it's
is that one?
It's a documentary about un matador in España. Like the bullfighter. It was intense. I had to stop halfway because I was like, I don't think I can do it. Yeah, before it happens. Yeah, let me stop. No, what was the last film that I watched that I really loved? Oh my god, that's a good question. Okay, come back to me.
Has ever like have a film ever impacted you so much in a film festival circuit that you're like, I wish this film was on a platform that I could send it to everybody to watch? Like have ever happened to you
at a film festival in
Yes.
particular?
Yeah. Like independent filmmaker that you're like, oh my god. I wish
Okay,
this
like
was.
who should I shout out? Is it okay?
Or like any film that you're like, I remember this film. Even if you don't remember the name or something. You're like, you're asking way too hard questions.
Why am I drawing a blank? I literally was like, I have so many films.
Yeah.
I have to think about it.
Oh, no worry.
I'm sorry.
Sure. Sorry with you. I was at this festival last year.
Yeah.
And had just met like this person like that was on the side, and I'm watching this thing, and at that end there was a crazy. I gave the biggest gas I've ever. I held this man's hand like what? To this day I wish that was on like HBO or something, because I think it's kind of like those like police drama things.
Yeah.
I wish I could send that to everybody and be like, that is a crazy plot twist. I need y'all to watch it.
Hell yeah.
And this is what I love about independent filmmaking. And when I go to like film festival, and the reason why I ask you this question is because I feel like we tend to always in media like we have to support Latino films in the theaters.
Yeah.
And it's 100%. Always the big films like that you will go buy a ticket. Yes, those are important. I'm gonna say but also independent filmmaking, and also for our community to go to film festivals. I feel like, community or like our parents or grandparents, like, you can also go to film festivals. These film festivals are also for you to see yourself, but 100%. Also to enjoy good films. Because sometimes I feel like there's so many good that I'm like, can someone did a place that way we can watch them online or something like that. But I always think about that too.
Yeah. Okay, I do remember a film that
Okay.
since you were talking, you got me stirring.
I just needed to jab.
and we love a good yap. No, the film that I watched twice. See, it's because I watched too many movies.
I love that.
I watched it twice. It was Akinola Davis Jr.'s In My Father's Shadow. And it's a Nigerian film. It's very like indie in the sense that like it was a co-production, but I mean the first time that I watched it I was like, I think I understand it, and then I watched it a second time and I was like floored really by it.
Wow.
So that was the last film that I really saw that I really was like, I recommend it. There's also Un Poeta by Simon, I don't remember his name. Un Poeta is it's basically a film about this teacher who has always wanted to be like a poet, and he ends up finding this student that he thinks is like incredibly skilled at poetry, and he kind of tries to convince her. But it's a great film, you know.
I was gonna say me after this like adding all the looking up all the films. IMDb, you're gonna see me coming.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So before we go, where can you tell our audience where they can find you and how they can support you?
You can find me on Instagram at Santos SANTOS _ARRUE. That's where you can find me. I need to post more. I don't post enough. I've been told.
It's fine. We all I think we all go through that.
Hard.
We struggle.
Yeah.
How can I support you? And yes, the film festival.
The best way to support me is you go ahead and you follow me on Instagram. And when we drop the Azul link, you know, hit that up. Be like, we're waiting for the feature, you know. Help us make the feature, really.
Comment everywhere.
Everybody comment, like, subscribe.
Yeah.
All those things.
Please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Slide
Exactly.
those $5, $10, $20.
Those $5.
You know, get a sugar daddy to spend more. Yeah, and I think
I highly encourage anyone to definitely, if you like this podcast, definitely submit to Central American Voices Film Fest. You know, I think you guys are such an amazing group of women that have been incredibly supportive. And, you know, I can only imagine, like, the wonderful things that you guys are going to do with the fest. And so I know it's going to be a great time. You guys love supporting us as filmmakers and always keeping the community, you know, supporting small filmmakers. So I appreciate you for that.
thank you. No, I'm gonna cry.
Oh, no, we need...
Like, where's tissues?
Yeah, like, we
No,
truly
thank you.
need you guys, you know, like... I think this only happens like when we have support, and you know, I've been a listener now for quite some time. I've literally listened to every episode. Yeah,
you hear me.
So there's some things that I do know about you that I'm like, I can't say that I know this about you because I've been listening to the podcast for some time. You know how it's awkward? It's like, oh, I know so much about you.
But I'm glad that you know it because of this.
Yeah,
if someone would have told me I don't listen to your podcast, but I know this about you, I'll be like,
weird.
Where was my data leaked?
What a creep. Exactly.
Yeah, don't worry. Okay, well, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, I'm so
and
honored.
wish you the best on this journey, and we'll be here supporting you.
Thank you very much. All right.
Centroamérica.